live from Burlington, Ontario, Canada.
North and south.
North and south, yeah. We're above and below the QEW.
Yes, we're covering all bases here.
Yeah, we got all the demographics of Burlington, Ontario.
Yeah.
So here we're talking about last night's episode of Westworld. It was a pretty action-packed episode, Dave. We had a lot of reminiscent to me of The Dark Knight, or The Dark Knight Rises, even more specifically. I think he was taking a few notes from his brother tonight. Jonathan Nolan was.
Yeah, the chase, the car chase.
Oh yeah, it was so much like Dark Knight Rises. It just the way it was shot, the way it looked, and apparently this was shot. That car chase was shot in L.A. And was not shot in Singapore, which a lot of the season I believe was shot in Singapore, but I think for certain not this, yeah. So we kind of get like a more detail here on Serac and specifically Caleb. Those two characters, I think this episode delved the most into, even though Caleb is still a mystery and we're still left to guess, even though Dolores knows everything. How are we going to reconcile that, Dave? How are we? Do we kind of have a better idea on both these characters, or are we kind of still like, all right, what's going on?
Serac, I'm pretty clear on, especially after this episode. I think that this episode mostly served to reinforce who I thought Serac was. I don't think in fact, he's even probably more nefarious than we originally thought, and definitely much more malevolent. As for Caleb, not really. I'm a little bit more confused with Caleb, if anything. Like, what's going on with Caleb? Who was he? What's his backstory? I obviously Dolores knows. So why she's not even telling Caleb what her true nature and reality is. So
any theories of who Caleb is or what he is or kind of what's going on?
So we only have like the little bit of the hints that were given in this episode right before Liam dies, and R.I.P. Liam, and R.I.P. A few people, a few deaths.
Yeah, Palm Clementif died in a surprise bombing by Chibs.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting all those characters to go out and kind of that abruptly. Especially Palm Clementif's character, whatever her name is, Martell, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. Like, you were.
She had like one scene. Yeah, she had like one scene with Liam.
She had much to do. She was basically a henchman or a secretary for Serac, who was just like, Serac wants to talk to you. That was kind of her main role. She did that first with Liam, then she did that with fake Hale, and then she did it here with fake Martin. So yeah. That was mainly her job, but yeah, that's kind of neither here nor there. In terms of what Liam tells us about Caleb is that he's the worst of them all. He doesn't even know who he is, so he's clearly had his like mind or his memories altered in some way. Maybe that's why Dolores has sort of taken an interest in him.
Yeah, because she can't completely understand everything about him, but she does understand his background. She does know his story. I think that's very much implied, especially in the scene on the beach when Liam is dying and he looks at her. She knows what's up with Caleb.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Caleb isn't pressing her harder for it. Why he seems vaguely interested in the fact that she survived a hail of bullets. Not a Charlotte Hale, but a Hale.
Yeah, vaguely interested. Yeah, there's something up with Caleb that is either he's not human, or my theory is maybe he's not Caleb. Like he's not like he might be in Caleb's body, but the mind within or it's the opposite. It's Caleb's mind, but he's in someone else's body. Something like that is going on. I don't know if he's a host, if he's human. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Caleb, other than something is awry, something is not quite right. Especially if you go back to his mom. If you go back, she doesn't recognize him, but he recognizes her. So it's like almost like he's in the wrong body. And so maybe a Caleb is actually his black friend that was, that they show in the flashback that was dying in the water. Maybe they took his consciousness and put it in a different body, and that's the whole trick, is that maybe that the black guy was his friend was adopted by the white mother, and then his whole backstory was actually a little black kid and it wasn't a little white kid. And like, I just think they're gonna do some sort of weird trickery like this to be like, oh yeah, no, that was all just to make you think that, you know.
Right. And just so we get our terminology straight here, his friend was named what? Did we ever get his friend's name?
Yeah, we do in the first episode, I believe. We get the name of the robot, but I don't know if we ever get the name of his friend. We'll go through it one sec. I'll find it.
I'm trying to find it. Like, it's crazy I don't know his name.
Well, he would have
Or
been in this episode at least. They would have had to credit him.
Does we see like the back, like hallucination of him in this episode?
Right.
On the subway?
In the water.
And in the water. I saw him on the subway when they were on the subway.
Okay.
You see like sort of the back of his head or something. Yeah, so whoever that friend was, who we believe is somebody he served in the military with or something, who was the person that was being recreated digitally, sort of through the computer simulation in the first episode, that this old war buddy that he's talking to. I think that, you know, there's probably something going on there, that their identities were switched or something. It's on some level, but why and to what end? Huh?
His name was Francis.
Francis, that's right.
Yes. So
yeah, okay.
So yeah, so I do. So my theory is maybe Francis is kind of like what was that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal? What was that? It was the Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he's like on a train and he's got to stop and he's on a loop, almost like Groundhog Day, but he's in somebody else's body. He's like kind of like this idea.
I know the one you mean. Yeah, the title of that escapes me right now too. But
yeah, here, I'll find it. But yeah, so like it's just like I do think there's a lot of theories that we can kind of go through here and kind of just figure out what's going on with Caleb, because source code, it was called source code,
right?
And so I don't know, just like he's the most fascinating part of the season for me. I feel like the season is about him,
Caleb,
yeah, ultimately, and whether or not what occurs with him, what choices he makes. The whole show for me is being kind of shot through his lens and what he thinks. And you know, when he's like kind of going heel and supporting Dolores, you believe it, but you don't quite believe it. You can see he's kind of wrestling with everything, and you know, like, so I do think he's the character that's the central focal point. Kind of like some of the other human characters were the last two seasons, like Hale was, like the other girl that also got killed at the end there by Dolores.
Martell.
Yeah, all these characters are kind of our lens to kind of view the AI human battle, whereas Serac is not. I don't feel like we're supposed to be on Serac's side whatsoever.
No, they don't make it easy.
No.
You know, I think there's a level of sympathy I feel towards his character, but not really. You know, so okay, like the first thing I wrote, my first note, is that Serac is a dick. That's before cold open. That's before credits. So he clearly did something in those early scenes in this episode to inspire that in me. I'm trying to remember what it was exactly.
Was it the fact that he like killed his boss? Was it or are you
was
just
it they killed? Did we? You know, he killed. Well, did he kill his brother or just experiment on him?
It seemed like he just experimented on him, or it was just kind of like a lie to his like the benefactor. What was his name? The benefactor in this episode.
Well, that's Liam Dempsey Sr.
Liam Dempsey Sr. Right. Okay. So yeah, it seems like that whole character was kind of like just an example of humanity's greed. Like he was the personification of greed. And
Dempsey Sr.?
Yeah. And like Serac,
he's a pretty one-dimensional businessman type character.
Right. And Serac is the personification of power. He's trying to, and but power for a means. Like his reasoning is to kind of like Liam Jr. says, if we shut down the system, all of a sudden humanity will go back to its basic nature. Which, by the way, why does Dolores doesn't give a frigging hell about humanity or making choices, humans making choices. It's been very clear she does not care about humans' free will. Yet she's
Yeah.
acting like to Caleb that it is. And
That this is somehow important to her.
yeah, and I think it's just complete bullshit. I think she's completely playing Caleb, and but it's just like it's so obvious to me. It's not very believable. Um, so yeah, you get just a bunch of we didn't get any Man in Black in this episode. It was very centric on the Dolores and Caleb.
Yeah, we got
Storyline.
it was a lot of Serac. A lot of Serac's backstory was
Right,
established in
and,
here.
and it,
We get we get the subtitles, the French narration pretty early on in this episode. It was kind of reminiscent of the episode last season with Akichita and that whole like most of that episode was in subtitles, right?
right.
So I thought that was maybe what they were trying to go for again, like give us a whole Serac episode, and it was mostly going to be in French. I thought that's where this was headed, but it wasn't. It was kind of a little bit of that, and it was a lot of like kind of keeping us up with the main story. And for the most part, Dolores was sort of scoring a series of minor victories over Serac. The major one being like she sort of like dossed him and put all like doxed him and put all of his information out, right? That they were manipulating the lives of every person on the system.
Well, we find out later on that all the scenes that you see of Serac in the past is Dolores watching through that contact lens of Serac's whole backstory. So every scene you see is Dolores watching that. So if you see him, unless he's on the plane, everything other than that is Dolores basically figuring out everything about Serac, and that's why Serac says to her later, you think just because you watch some of my memories, you know everything about me, and like that's why he says that line.
Right, and I'm sure that will pay off. That there's more to him that she doesn't or hasn't sort of predicted or anticipated.
Right, because that's his whole thing is anticipating or predicting what's going to happen. That's Serac's whole like superpower, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, I think that the main thing here, and like the analogies are pretty clear. That Serac he's playing God. That's sort of what he wants to do in life. He thinks that humanity is its own greatest danger, and that he needs to play sort of this parental role. He has to play this godlike role and sort of put everybody into their lanes. And this is what if everybody kind of plays their role, then we'll have a better society. We won't have a world where Paris gets destroyed in a nuclear blast. But as you were making reference last week to the Matrix, and there being sort of like a lot of those Matrix themes from that film series being put through here, I see that again. And this whole like that there's a few outliers who just won't accept the system, right? That's kind of what his brother is one of these people.
Right.
I think obviously Caleb is probably one of these people. Anybody who sort of doesn't fit neatly into what they're supposed to be or what the system's telling you to do. Like the underlying problem here is choice, right? As they told us in the Matrix, that most people will accept a prison if it provides their creature comforts, but other people will not, and they never will. They'll always be disruptive to that.
That's right. And you can kind of see that what's going on in reality right now. There are people protesting in Germany and in like even in Vancouver, just of the stay-at-home ordinance that the government has laid down in multiple countries. There will always be people that go, "Screw that! I'm not putting up with it." Right? Even if it's for a good cause.
If you make it a choice, there are always going to be some people who choose to do the opposite of that, just out of spite.
Yes,
because you're not the boss of me.
It seems like it's just a very appropriate show, Westworld, right now for what's going on in reality as well. I just think it's a great. I think it's too smart for most people. That's why most people are not really into this show. It's not as fantastical, and it's not about emotion as much about emotion. I feel like, as it is like as like most other shows or dramas that do very well are. There's really no love story. There's no, there really just is, it's more cerebral. And to try and figure this show out is, it's more of a commentary, a philosophy of humanity, which has really been interesting to see how they lay it all out for us in this world. Because, like, this is we find out, I think, in this episode that the year is 2054, I believe. And
did we learn that for
yeah,
sure?
it's on the watch. So the whole theme of the watch and the time period, his whole watch is. What did you make of his watch with the whole black circle and like what is? And then like, and at the end of the episode, it starts getting more black. Like, is that like a representative of the system and that's what Rehoboam's doing? And like, is
I
that
think
what that is?
so. I think that like sort of weird circle thing that now we've seen it on his watch face. I think we are sort of seeing things through the Rehoboam's eyes, if you will, or through its sense. And I guess that watch is a kind of a direct connection for the creator to their god thing, their god machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the fact that it's going dark maybe is an indicator that maybe chaos is starting to return, because we see that she doxes them and she releases all this information out, so everybody kind of knows their file, and the long-term consequences we'll see. But we saw at least one person throw a rock through a window. How many more rocks will be thrown through windows?
I think quite a few by the end of this season. I just think, who's going to be throwing the rocks? Will it be Dolores or will it be humans?
It'll be humans. It will be people are gonna be pissed, right?
Right, and that's what she wants. She wants chaos so she can take over.
Is that where she's headed? I was watching a little bit. I've let this the behind the scenes footage that they air after every episode now, where they have some like the interviews with the cast and whatever, and it's Rachel Evan Wood who plays Dolores, and she's talking like, every week you're looking like, is Dolores the good guy? Is she the bad guy? I don't know. Like, she's definitely the bad guy. Come on. Like, no, not that Serac is a good guy. Serac is definitely a bad guy, but I think he's not the big bad of the season. Ultimately, I think he's going to end up being. So he'll be probably making a few more episodes, and that will be the end of Serac. But this will be a showdown ultimately between Dolores and Caleb, or Dolores and everybody else.
I think the main good guy, and I think it's going to be crazy, of this season will end up being the Man in Black. I think the Man in Black will end up being the good guy, or the guy you're rooting for. And I would like to make a little comparison here between the Man in Black and Caleb. Caleb and the Man in Black share a very similar question: am I me? Am I actually who I am? Because they both don't know, and Dolores does. And Dolores is like this, and even Serac has Dolores has information that Serac wants, and so Dolores is like this key that everybody wants to get, but nobody can, because she's always one step ahead of everybody right now. But I think when none of these people are teamed up. Once you see a Caleb and a Man in Black and a Serac, all the kind of the same joint force, and Bernard, once you see all those people on the same kind of side, which I think will happen in the finale, you will see Dolores either like be taken down or at least severely hindered. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Like, and as you were just naming off the characters, and then you mentioned Bernard, I was like, oh, but don't forget Stubbs.
Yeah, Stubbs is more like a Robin to Bernard's Batman.
What is Stubbs' role on this show now? He's just Bernard's bodyguard.
Yeah, he's muscle. Yeah, that's what I take. I love how he just showed up in that one scene, just out of the elevator,
out of nowhere. Yeah. He pops into this scene. He's like, "You forget about me?" Right? Like a little bit of weird robot kung fu, and but that's quickly de-escalated, because I guess the crew's here, so they just slip out the back door. And it's clear that this is just another copy of Dolores that is in the Martin host. That Dolores doesn't seem to wish Bernard and Stubbs any ill will. Like, she's just allowing them to sort of be out there, like leaving them on the board.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to want to remove the. Well, in fact, she brought Bernard back when she did not have to.
Didn't have to do that, right?
No idea why she did. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Maybe we'll find out later. Stubbs, Who brought Stubbs back out of? I guess Bernard brought him back online. He was in like a warehouse somewhere, right?
No, last time we saw Stubbs, he went over that railing,
No,
right?
no, no,
Like,
no. Before that, when in the first episode, Bernard Stubbs had shot himself in the face,
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
Bernard
yeah.
was the one who brought him back online, right? Not Dolores,
Yes,
right?
correct.
But where was Stubbs? Was Stubbs in the real world, or did Bernard go to the park? Where was he?
Bernard got him at the park.
At the park.
Yeah, at Robert. What's his name? Robert Ford.
Robert Ford.
At Robert Ford's like little secret workshop. That's where Stubbs was.
How did Bernard get there?
By boat, he paid some
Right, and
fishermen
then
in
they
the South
swam.
China Sea to take him there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay, I was unclear. So why did he just went back to get Stubbs? He didn't even know Stubbs was a host.
He also went there to find Maeve, but Maeve wasn't there either.
Right. Okay.
Right.
He was hoping simulation.
He was looking for Maeve. Maeve wasn't there, so he left with Stubbs instead.
Yeah.
On his kind of vague mission to stop Dolores from what?
Right.
That's the thing with Bernard that I'm not really getting. It's like, what are you trying to accomplish, Bernard? You don't even seem to really know yourself. You just seem to kind of want answers. You're kind of like this aloof character, and once and now Stubbs pops in for some quick karate moves or something.
We got a comment from Mom. She says, "Dad is watching podcast, wants to call in to complain."
Why? That we're not covering something he wants us to cover?
I don't know why, but if he's watching right now, you can come on to Facebook and leave us a message on our live stream and let us know why you want to complain, Dad.
Yeah, maybe we're slowing down the internet.
Maybe. I don't think so, though. I don't think.
Yeah, you just comment in the comments. We'll see it come up here, and we can even push it live. So we'll bring your comment into the real world.
Yeah. So we get a little bit more with Serac here about like his brother, and his brother was kind of the one that came up with the idea for the god, or like he was the one who put it into practice, and then it was like, so basically they have that whole scene with Liam's father about the whole stock market and how it could predict the stock market, and then like he was like all he saw was money. But it actually, we saw like what this was possible, what this was capable with, what we could do, and it was very much predicting what it ended up becoming, predicting human behavior, predicting a whole human life cycle, and it kind of like it goes back to that Matrix theory of like you're basically everybody's like a human. It has a negative side and a positive side, and it runs its course, and then that's it, and then the battery's dead, and it just predicts everything, right? And from that, I do agree with like Caleb or Dolores that like that's not really living. Then you may be creating order out of chaos, but then people aren't really people then after that. And it kind of explains more about this world, and apparently Rehoboam and the park, Westworld, both opened in the same year, 2024, which is only 4 years from now.
Okay, here let's bring our question in here.
Okay,
this is from Ted Mater. Hey, when's the show on about Halifax ball hockey? He wants to know.
Well, we need some tape. We need some tape. We need to watch a game. If we can watch a game, then we can recap an old Halifax ball hockey.
Hockey. Yeah, let's get the old Halifax ball hockey in here. They don't play Halifax ball hockey in Westworld.
Who do I call?
He wants to know how he calls.
I don't know. What do you mean? Who do you call for what?
Who do I call? You can't really call. You'd have to join in. Remember, but hey, I didn't show.
We could give him the Be Live
the link.
Our link. But I don't know. Then this goes off the rails quick, and we stop talking about Westworld, which is why the people are here.
Here, I will send you a link right now. If you want to come in here and ruin the Westworld. Here we go. There you go. That will allow you to come on.
So what did we make of the whole like What did we make of the whole Liam scene here, where he puts on the glasses, very much like the glasses I'm wearing right now, just clear, and he could see Caleb's whole future before his eyes, and then, and that whole scene, and then he looks at him and he's like, oh okay.
Oh, Dad wants another show for the Halifax Ball. Well, we'd have to set up a whole different podcast. This is the Westworld podcast, Dad. So you have to, we could set up a different time slot. We could have like sort of we could have a slideshow even of the old glory days of the Halifax ball hockey scene, even the basketball scene, whatever you like. We can order. We can. Okay, well, as long as we can order pizzas. That will do.
You don't need to order pizzas. We make it.
Yeah.
No We're in the apocalypse. We can't be going out.
I didn't show you this new thing that Be Live gave me today too.
What's that?
They did this, I guess, for the quarantine that we're all dealing with now. So now you can add a thermometer. And you could even like,
is that what it is? Okay.
I think we're at 100 degrees Celsius here on.
Hot. It's hot.
It's hot.
So better get tested.
And you have to do days in quarantine.
Geez, really? Wow.
Wow, 20 days. But I don't need any of this stuff. Give me more widgets, though. I will maybe play with those. And maybe the best question of all. What is Westworld anyway?
Well, he should know because, this show originally came out in the 70s. And
it's a movie. It's a movie.
Yeah. With Yul Brynner. I think he's probably heard of it, because, I think he said to me, well, no one's ever heard of it. I think someone's heard of it. Anyway, it's about, an amusement park filled with robots that look like humans.
It's called Westworld because it's the Wild West world.
Yeah.
It's like Disney World, but it's Westworld.
Yeah, it's like a Western motif.
Right. So you can be a cowboy or you can play whatever fantasy you want.
Right, and you interact, and the whole world's kind of like your playground, and the everybody in it is a robot that basically, interacts with you however you wanted them to. No, we don't mean Waterworld with Kevin Costner.
No,
Waterworld was terrible. It was one of the worst Kevin Costner movies.
Yeah, it's not Waterworld. Sorry. Where were we?
I mean, I don't know. We went off the rails quick there.
He wants to use Wild. Oh, no.
Another terrible movie.
Did you give him booze? Is that what's going on here?
I don't think so. No, we just had dinner.
This is a big episode. Wild Wild West was not a show. It was a movie with Will Smith. Okay, it doesn't matter. Westworld. We're in the 3rd season, so you're coming in kind of in a weird place here, Dad.
Yeah, and especially mid-season. Like this is like we're getting toward the end here of Westworld season 3, and we're on the down part of the roller coaster, and it's starting to get good here. We have characters dying left and right, like it's nothing. They're just being thrown off the. This is what the show does, though. They kill people like they don't care. They do not. They will bring a character in and kill them within 3 episodes. They have no problem. And it's just interesting. Like, we barely knew you, Palm Clementif, and you're gone.
She's gone.
We barely knew you, Chibs. You're gone. You were gone in the first episode, but now you were back, and now you're gone again.
Yeah. We a bunch of people that died in this episode for sure. Yeah. So we talk about where are we? I'm very distracted. Okay, Dad's gonna wait till the next show. Can we talk about this drug that Caleb was on?
Well, he gives it. Liam puts it on his neck, right?
Liam stabs him with this drug. I guess that had been given to him in the last episode by his terrible friend, right?
Right.
What I'm trying to understand is why they did that. Why that was part of this episode.
I don't know. Like, it was strange because, like, how was he able to like shoot a rocket out of a car when the other guy that was on the same drug, I think earlier in the show, was like hallucinating naked in front of a fucking like.
Was that the same drug? They
I
were on
think
the same drug.
so. He says it was a party drug. Like he tells Dolores, because Dolores goes, "What did you give him?" And you know, he goes, "It was a party drug." And I think it's the same drug that they showed us a couple episodes ago. I mean, what other drug would it have been?
Yeah, I think we have to assume that it's the same drug because we haven't learned a lot about the drug world in this. But so they're saying that this drug makes you feel like you're in some kind of a musical, or you're in some kind of like. At first, he was like in a 1940s film noir,
Yes.
but then it changes a few times to like sort of a dance club thing, and then it changes to a few other things. I think they said in that after the fact commentary that it's not necessarily even chemical, these drugs, that I guess because people have these implants that, you know, can affect them in different ways, that that the drug is more of like a software license, and its effects on you work more like that than they do basically the chemicals coming into your body and affecting you there.
Yeah. Uh, he's also hallucinating a lot throughout this episode and seeing flashes, like you said, of Francis on the bus. You know, when Liam
It
is
was not
dying.
Viagra. It was called genre, Dad. It was genre.
Yeah, that's why the episode is called Genre. I believe that the drug was also called Genre,
Genre.
which
It
is this
wasn't
what this
Viagra.
episode does. They play with genre a lot, like you said, film noir. They have chase scenes. They have they even do like an Inception kind of like homage with the whole beach scene. And so like they're doing a lot of he's I feel like this episode was Jonathan Nolan's love letter to his brother.
Oh, okay, because it features a pair of brothers and the Sirac brothers,
Yeah,
and then also the fact that this is such a uh
it's
like
a
it's
mind
you
fuck of an episode. He's
yeah,
got
and I know what you mean. It feels like that Dark Knight inspiration, the car scenes, that like city at night, all that felt very. I feel like they brought in the same cinematographer, whoever shot the Dark Knight. I would, if you told me he shot this show, I would believe it.
yeah, like they do the Inception, they do Memento with all the flashbacks and not knowing who you are. They, like there's a lot of previous Inception, Chris Nolan movies that obviously Jonathan Nolan had a lot of help in, um, but he's definitely doing homages throughout this, and I think he's definitely using Chris Nolan's movies as almost like a template. And like you said, like with Sirac's brother, everything that you see throughout this episode, I think you could kind of make a comparison with Chris Nolan movies.
Yeah, I can believe that for sure. hmm what else? I don't feel like a lot happened in this episode.
Well, no, because most of what we see is Dolores just reading Sirac's backstory in her contact lens.
Yeah.
So the only stuff that's actually occurring, and even that we can't trust because it's basically through Caleb's eyes, and we can't really trust it because once he's on the drug, we have no idea if any of that's real. Um, you know, even Liam dying, I'm not convinced that happened. It probably did, most likely did, but Caleb is he's kind of like Rami Malek and Mr. Robot. He is an unreliable narrator, and not that he's physically narrating the show. He's not, but he is the person this season we are watching the show through his eyes. All the flashbacks where we see him at the ocean, we are watching this show through his eyes. And the fact is, just like the Man in Black, we don't know who he is or where he's from or like what's going on with these characters. So it's very confusing. I see why a lot of people check out of this show because what is going on? Even people that avidly love the show have to dissect it and analyze it, and they still are confused.
Yeah, like I feel like this like the whole thing on the Caleb story and what is going on with Caleb. I think right now I'm getting impatient with it. I think and if it's going to be this big reveal at the end, because we're at the 5th episode, so there's 3 more to come after this. I hope it's a really satisfying reveal. Like, I think we're starting to kind of figure out what it is, and maybe I don't know if that's satisfying or not. We'll see. But right now, I think it's more frustrating than maybe compelling.
Yeah, I think I hope that the payoff is good because it's getting to the point where I'm not so much frustrated but annoyed by the fact that like we get it. He doesn't know who he is, and but they're really dragging it out. I see why they did this season in only 8 episodes as opposed to 10, because if they had done it in 10, I think I would have wanted to punch the wall at a certain point.
Mhm.
I get it. Just give me the answer at a certain point. And if they don't give me an answer, maybe not next episode, because if next episode has more to do with Men in Black, which I suspect it does, um, they better give it to me in the episode after that, in the penultimate episode, because this is episode 5. Episode 6 will be next. I'm guessing that's the Man in Black episode. Episode 7 will be, I think the episode where a lot of stuff happens, and then episode 8 we will wrap things up in a bow, and hopefully that'll be kind of like you said, the end for like the Dolores storyline. But I could be wrong. It might get even more crazy with Dolores next season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Dolores. But like, I think I saw that maybe we're going back to Westworld next week. We're going back to the park. I think that's where Caleb and Dolores are headed. I think that's a good thing, but we'll see. All depends on what they do with it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm tied to that place, but I guess I'm finding that all this stuff going on in the human world, I'm starting to like get tired of it. It's maybe not enough of it for me.
There's like literally only a few characters. I mean, we have the Marshawn Lynch character, and then what's his partner's name? Simone or something like that.
Well, so Marshawn Lynch plays Giggles,
Yes.
and is it Ash?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Ash.
the character's name is
Yeah.
Ash.
Ash and Giggles. So, did you notice when he first showed up tonight that all the words were lit up?
Yeah, but it changed a few times.
It changed. If there was one where he's walking down the hall and it just says bored. So I do like this shirt. It's funny.
Yeah, sure. Always tells him what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Why do they help Caleb and them?
I don't know. It's unclear. Like,
right time, right place, right time. Is that
yeah,
why?
I think that was the kind of the argument. Was I think just because I think it's again the argument that she made to Caleb, that the system is screwing you and is making you into a criminal, so you might as well be a criminal that's accomplishing something. I think it's
do
kind of,
personals.
yeah, I think that's kind of what I gathered from it. Dolores is
Mhm.
using these people though. Like, she is outright using these people. She doesn't care about their cause. She cares about herself and her own cause. And she has a mission that she is trying to and the mission she's telling them is not the mission she's actually doing. She's lying to them. And I think I think Caleb's going to be the one to figure that out. And I hope it's soon, because if it's like right at the end of the season, it's going to be kind of lame.
Yeah. What was the story that Caleb told about the rats in the water that he tells to Liam? You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it. I don't remember exactly what he said to him.
He tells some story to Liam, and the point of the story is that, what the end of the story is that he's like, I'd rather live in a world of chaos than
Right.
in a world where you're running it. But I didn't really understand it. It was some story like when he was overseas in the military, these rats would jump into like this bucket of water or something, and they would die instantly. I don't know. That didn't make any sense. The dialogue didn't make much sense.
Yeah, yeah, but the point, I got his point. Basically, he would rather the world be chaotic as long as nobody's controlling that chaos. But the problem is Dolores is going to be the one controlling that chaos. It's literally like, so they're controlling the order, Liam and Serac, and then Dolores is going to be the complete flip coin where she's just going to control the chaos. Now, neither are good. So that's the problem. You need, there's no balance there.
Dolores is anarchy, effectively.
Yeah, but anarchy for her own, not for like, she's not on their team. She's not a human. She's trying to accomplish something. I think she's trying to extinct the entire human race. That's what I think. That's how evil I think this is going for Dolores. Is she will try. She said it herself in a previous episode, like that the world would be better once we rid it of people. It's like she says something like that at one point. And so her motivations are very clear to me, that she's she's acting like she's like on their side because she needs to, because she can't do it by herself. She can't kill everybody by herself in a couple days. She needs planning, and she needs to do certain things. That's why at the beginning of the season she gets that code from that one guy from Strucker, and it's just going to be a series of events that leads her to complete annihilation, which is exactly what Serac is avoiding. He's trying, his whole motivation is based off, like you said, the nuclear weapon in Paris, not to allow that to ever happen again. That's the exact thing that Dolores, I believe, wants to occur. She wants machines to control the world going forward.
Yeah. Okay. Go Maeve, I guess.
Yeah, go Maeve. Well, Maeve is also, she's like also doesn't seem to really care about humans, but she knows that Dolores is evil, and she knows that. And I don't see Maeve as evil, like not she's not going to go out of her way to completely annihilate humans.
Yeah, I'd say that that if I had to describe like Maeve on like that sort of, there's what is it, chaotic good, what I'm talking about, right? That scale, because there's like lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, and then
Yeah,
there's sort of the neutral version of that, and then the evil version of that.
so she's
So
chaotic good. You think?
I would say that Maeve is sort of like, yeah, like neutral good or chaotic good, but not lawful, right? Whereas I think that Dolores is becoming increasingly like sort of chaotic evil. Whereas definitely chaotic, and whether we're meant to be to wonder if she's good or evil or somewhere in the middle. And the more and more time goes on, I'm just more convinced that there's foul play here, that she's really the threat, and we're not seeing it.
Yeah,
But we kind of are.
yeah. They're trying to trick us, like every now and then, where she throws that line at Caleb that, oh, well, if it's not a choice, then it's not really worth living. And she goes, she's fighting for free will for humans, which is a bunch of bullshit. Like, she doesn't care about humans. She doesn't care about their free will. I don't believe for 1 second. She cares about her kind and herself. She cares about AI and like the robots, but she doesn't even really trust them. She doesn't trust them enough to at all execute her mission.
No.
But for whatever reason, she has a soft spot for Bernard, which I still don't understand. That it's unclear why.
Well, Bernard is like in Arnold's image. Arnold was her creator, and then she helped Ford create Bernard in Arnold's image. So I think that's why she has this unique attachment like to him.
Right. So but is it just like an emotional thing, or do you think it's like a kind of like, I can't exist without Bernard existing? Like, it's kind of like they both need to be in the world because they're just kind of like they're the opposite. They're like two polars of the one's a North Pole, one's a South Pole, and a magnet kind of thing. They both need to exist for polarity to occur. Like, she needs him in the world to I don't know, try to stop her, or like she, because it would be much easier for her to just eliminate him out of the picture, and then she doesn't even have to worry about it.
Oh, for sure. She didn't have to give him a new body and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
She chose to do that. Why? Yeah, I don't really get why. I think that Dolores needs Bernard more than Bernard needs Dolores.
Yes, I agree. It's just maybe like, I mean, it's funny how this show works because they're not spending very much time on Bernard. They're really spending more time on Caleb, as Caleb's going to be the one that's going to have to turn around here and try to stop Dolores. Not Bernard. Bernard's just going to be there. He'll help, but he's not like the protagonist, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'm guessing we're not even going to see Bernard and Stubbs next week, but we'll see. I didn't see them in the previews, but yeah, like how they're going to intersect again with Dolores, I'm not clear on.
Yeah. So okay, so let's talk about the car chase scene. What did you think about that?
It was fine. It was like most car chase scenes, except this one had like a smart bomb. You didn't even have to aim very well.
Well, he completely missed, and then like Dolores was like, "Hold on," and did like a Jedi mind trick, and just brought it back That was it.
Right, because initially the car is under their control,
Right.
and so all she has to do is disconnect the Wi-Fi, and then they can control the car. Right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, like she's like Xavier now, where she just puts her hand to her temple, and all of a sudden she has teleport.
No, but she doesn't. She doesn't do it like Maeve does it. Maeve
No.
does it more through telepathy or technopathy. Dolores has like some kind of a computer she calls, right? That's what she calls that motorcycle in.
Right.
So she has some kind of AI backing up her, but it's not like the same as Maeve's.
Well, yeah, like she needs other AI to help her, Dolores. It seems like, whereas Maeve can just control other machines.
Mm-hmm. Right. Maeve can kind of control any machine she encounters without having to really think about it too much. Neater trick.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just, why can't Dolores do that? I don't get it. Why can Maeve do it and Dolores cannot?
Don't know reasons.
It's unclear. Convenience, plot.
Right. I think to make Maeve unique and special.
I think so too. I think, yeah, and I do think it again makes Maeve more the Neo to Dolores's Agent Smith.
Right.
Yeah,
but they're better. Jonathan Nolan's better than just to rip off a bunch of stuff he saw in The Matrix.
I don't think so. I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's this whole episode proved to me how much he's willing to use homages to continue his story. Just whether or not you like that or not is it's kind of like Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot did the same thing. Mr. Robot took from Fight Club and all sorts of different vigilante, Viva Vendetta, lots of different themes from those shows or those movies that dealt with those topics. And I think Westworld is doing the same thing now. And I think I wonder if you asked Jonathan Nolan, like, what TV show or movie really influenced this season. I would imagine Mr. Robot and The Matrix would be up there for him, for the way he's making this season.
Yeah, I bet you it is. Like, yeah, I don't know. I always struggle with this. How much is it ripping it off? How much of it is paying homage? I don't know, I guess it comes down to how obvious it is.
You can only do so much. Like, only so many things have been written. Like, you can only, characters are always going to have certain stereotypes, certain sort of prototypes to them that you're going to go, oh, that's like that, or that's like that. So you might as well do it well if you're going to do that at all, or you're going to write a story that's dealing with like a topic that's been dealt with quite a bit. Like AI is a topic that lots of movies have covered for a long time. Going back to probably like even 1969 Space Odyssey, 2001. So like there's lots of examples. Even Westworld, the movie that with Yul Brynner. I mean, everything is kind of based on something here. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he's doing this. And then why not throw some love letters to your brother in this episode? Because for me, it was so I remember just watching. I was like, "That's Dark Knight. That's Inception. That's that's Memento." I'm sure if I thought about some of Interstellar, I'm sure was shoehorned in there somewhere. I don't know where, but
yeah, this will end up on some YouTube video. Did you notice all of the Nolan Easter eggs in last night's episode of Westworld? Let me break it down for you on Screen Rant.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I don't think this was my favorite episode, honestly. Like it was. I don't know. It didn't do enough for me.
No, me either. I enjoyed I felt like it was a very popcorny type episode. It was an episode to sit back and just enjoy how well this show is shot, and how like I didn't find the dialogue especially good, but it was a very pretty episode. There was explosions, there was car chases, there was there was a death at the beach. Like it was very cinematic. This episode for me.
I think that the stuff that I found the most compelling was the stuff with Serac himself, who he is, what he's about. I think that actor they got to. I thought that they had de-aged Vincent Castle, right? No, it wasn't. It was just some younger actor they got to play the younger version. I thought it was amazing, like how similar this guy looked to him.
Yeah, it was good casting for sure. Whoever made that casting choice did a great job.
I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive to de-age Vincent Castle by like, 40, 50 years, but they didn't at all.
Yeah, that would have been tough. But they didn't
Yeah.
bother to make him look younger in like the scenes where he killed like Liam's father. I don't know how many years it is before this.
They made him
Uh,
look a little younger. They took a little bit of the gray out of his hair and stuff like
is
that.
that
It's
right?
it's
Okay.
it's pretty subtle. But what is he doing with those experiments? Why was his brother in an experiment? What is that?
I didn't quite understand that, other than the fact that his brother had I felt like his brother had put the Rehoboam code into his brain in some way, and like that's why he said, like he says to Liam's father there, uh, like he knew you were going to shut us down, so that's why he wanted to kill you, right? At one point, right? So like and he's like, did you really think I was going to let you do that and not let my brother live, type thing, or whatever it was? And I was like, okay, so like I kind of understand where he's coming from. Like I understand his motivations, but at the same time, I think he's right. We don't have a clear picture of Serac at all. We have Dolores's picture of his memories, and I can't trust those memories because those memories are in Rehoboam. And whether or not even there's a theory going around right now that Serac isn't even real. Serac is Rehoboam. He's in Rehoboam, and every time we see him, he is the holographic projection. They keep showing us the holographic projection of him, but like, then how did he pick up the gun and shoot that guy in last episode with where
Right.
Maeve was? Like, how is he holding things, or like, is he real or is he not real? We don't quite know the answers to that. If he is, then like they'll make it clear, I think, in a couple episodes, because the theory's going around and it's not by accident.
Yeah, like if it wasn't for that one part where he shot the guy, I would probably say that might be true. That maybe Serac is not a real person. He's maybe just the embodiment of Rehoboam. Sure, I could, like, but the only problem with that is that Maeve saw him kill that guy, and then Maeve went off, and so you can say, "Oh, maybe Maeve's just still in a simulation and doesn't know it."
Yeah,
But then why would she have encountered Dolores in the body of Sato and all those things? Like that wouldn't track. So I don't think it's that.
I don't think so either. But it's just, there's theories going around that that's what's kind of cool about this show is like, you'll see some theories and you'll kind of think to yourself, oh yeah, that could fit. Like that. And there's lots of them, just about this season alone, of what's going on, in this show. And it's, again, I wish they would make things more clear of what year what year it is when they're showing, like, they do mention, I think it's 2024. No, it's 2028 or something, when the nuclear bomb goes off in Paris. No, it's 2024, the same year that Westworld and Rehoboam. Oh, but no, it's 2020. It's this year.
Oh, it's
Anyway,
this year.
yeah, it's
Oh,
this
yeah.
year.
Is that what we have to look forward to?
I don't know. I hope not. Anyway, the I just think there's a lot of, I wish that they do show you in those white, when they show you the white screen, but it's hard to look at. I just find it's not smartly done, as far as being very clear. Like, put it just right in the center of the screen for us, please. Like, just make it very clear what you're showing us, why you're showing us it, and when. And just, I mean, maybe it's just me and I'm just being stupid, but I think what we're watching the show and we're still confused about when things are taking place, why they're showing us flashbacks. When is this happening? I just wish I knew when. I wish I knew I had a timeline, a mental geography of the show.
Yeah, like, even just thinking about how this show started, right? Like the show was a great level of reveal. I came into the show not knowing really anything about it. I'd never seen the original film. So in the first couple seasons, it was this underdog story, like these oppressed hosts who are abused by their human overlords and who need to overcome it. And that was an underdog story. And everyone likes an underdog story. But now I don't know what exactly it is I'm cheering for. Is it for the fate of mankind? Is that the show I signed up to watch with Westworld? Is it these bigger existential ideas? Maybe, I don't know. But I need it to be entertaining. And like tonight's episode, while amazingly well acted in some parts, the cinematography, the visual effects are all flawless. The story is interesting, but like, get to the point. What am I watching? What is this story? Why should I care? I think that they need to
Who
start
is
answering
the
these
good guy?
questions.
Who are the good guys?
Yeah,
Who are
who's
the
the
bad guys?
protagonist? Who's the
That,
good guy? Who's the bad guy?
yeah, who am I rooting for? Or is it like I said? Is it just a critique on humanity? And eventually that gets boring. And we just need somebody to kind of watch the show through their eyes. And now, right now, we're watching the show through somebody's eyes who doesn't know who they are, and it's frustrating because we don't, again, unreliable. Like with Mr. Robot, I feel like it was better because we knew he was unreliable, and we kind of know that Caleb is unreliable too, but he doesn't even know why he's unreliable. At least Mr. Robot knew why he was unreliable. He knew he was seeing his dead father. He knew, spoilers, um, he knew all these things, whereas Caleb doesn't even know like what his real name is. Caleb doesn't really know. I don't even know if he knows he's a human. We
Oh, yeah, I
don't.
think he knows. I think so. I think he
I
knows
don't
he's
think we do. We do, like, just like the Man in Black. He doesn't know he's a human. He doesn't know if he's a host. He doesn't know. And I think Caleb is completely confused. He just gets glimpses of his background, and that's it. That's all he knows.
I guess I feel like I definitely agree as the audience we're only getting glimpses, but like until this episode, I didn't have this great sense that he didn't know who he was. He seemed to be pretty clear on who he was and where he'd been and what he'd done in life.
But that's what
There
Liam says that to him when he's dying. You know, right before he gets shot, is you don't even know who you are.
well, I guess we don't either.
That's right. That's why it's a frustrating season for me right now. Not that I don't. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the show, but I hope this show ties it in a nice ribbon, because if they don't, it's gonna leave a lot of people going, what the hell? And then you could say that about like for instance, Mr. Robot season 1. If they had not given us the reveal at the end of that season, I think a lot of people would have said like, what the hell's going on? And I understand now why they did that, why they did give us that reveal, because in my mind, I wish they had extended that longer. That whole idea, like who's his father, like what's going on. But it gets tiresome after a while. You kind of go, no, you need the reveal.
Right. I think you can outstay your welcome on those things.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Robot season 2 was another example of that. And I feel like this season, for even with it being a shorter season, and maybe that's how they sold it to themselves when they wrote it, but they're like, okay, we'll do this like longer reveal, but we'll do it in 8 episodes so we won't piss everybody off. They kind of are, because I don't really know who I'm cheering for other than Maeve. I will always cheer for Maeve, and that's about it. The rest of them, whatever. Like Bernard, kind of he's aloof. Stubbs could kind of take him or leave him. I think he would take or leave himself half the time.
Yeah, he's like, whatever, deactivate me, I don't care.
He's like, yeah, well, whether I'm in this or I'm not, I don't really care. If you need me to do some karate moves, I will. Dolores, I'm increasingly becoming finding unsympathetic and not somebody out. Like I think she makes a better villain than a hero. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that choice. I just wish there was a clear, opponent to her. It doesn't seem like it just seems like a lot of just desserts going on, like especially with the Man in Black. Like she got her revenge, and you said last week, do we feel good about this? Are we supposed to be on her side? Like, yeah, you got what you deserved. And I'm sure some people thought that, and then other people kind of went, I mean, he was a dick. But
he had it coming.
Situation is messed up. Yeah, he had it coming, but he was already going nuts. Like he was.
Well, and Dolores, like is I guess where does revenge start and justice end? And
Right.
So did Dolores get justice on William, or did she just enact revenge? And I think it's more revenge.
It was revenge, because if she wanted justice, she just would have killed him. It would have been a nice
killed him, or
she wanted to torture him.
Yeah, break him.
The way she had been tortured for years in the park. It was revenge. And so she was literally shaving his face with a razor. She could have sliced his throat right there. That would have been justice in her mind. Because she doesn't care about human life. She doesn't care. Like, she's not trying to like, oh no, I can't kill him, he has to go to a prison or a mental institution. No, She did that because she wanted him to suffer. She did
Mhm.
not want him to and she wanted him to question his reality the way she had to for years. It was all like a full circle revenge cycle going on here. And it's all about the game. That's why she says to him, the last thing she says to him is like, "Welcome to the end of the game." You know, because he was obsessed with the game and just messing with his mind. That's what And so I don't know. Like I kind of want to see the Man in Black come back in some sort of redemption where he's not such an asshole and he's actually fighting for people or like the right causes. And if they made him the protagonist of the show, I think I could get behind it. But they have to do it the right way. Like he's such a damaged character and it has so many flaws and killed his daughter, was raping people, killing people in the park. He was so bad.
Was
But
he raping people?
was he raping?
Is
I don't
that?
know. Did he rape Dolores? I thought he did at least once.
I didn't think so.
No, okay, I did not raping people, but killing people, killing the hosts at will. Uh, I thought he did. I thought he did.
There was that one scene where he's dragging Dolores into the barn in the first season, and we think that's what's happening, but really
Right,
he wasn't. I don't think that's what it was. I think it was more he wanted to interrogate her, or
right. Okay, maybe you're right. All right, but either way, a really bad guy, right?
yes,
So
not nice.
not a good person. But
Mhm.
that's the whole duality of his character is when he was young, he was good. He was like, maybe like a Caleb, like he had the right intentions. He didn't like the way his brother-in-law, the way his brother-in-law was acting, the way his brother-in-law, he basically became his brother-in-law later in life. And so I would like to see him go back to the younger William that had a conscience, that had a heart, that wanted to fight for the right things. If they
Right.
can do that, if they can pull that off, I'm on board.
I'm looking here at the list of Man in Black's kill victims.
Mhm.
So he has killed many hosts,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
a lot of them, but those are just bodies and they come back. Although the trauma that they go through is real. But he killed his daughter. Obviously, that's an accidental death. And then
Right.
there was five unnamed members of the QA security force, who I guess he killed around the same time as the daughter. Like, wasn't that all part of that same
Yes.
scene?
Yes. The
So
thing.
those were real people. So he's killed 6 people that we know of.
Right. But he again thought that was all a game by Ford. Like in his mind, those all were all hosts, right? Did he think there were humans that he was killing?
I don't. Well, definitely definitely like it's pretty clear with the daughter, but not with them so much.
Right. Yeah. So like he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would like he never wanted to like kill Ford, even though he hated Ford.
Well, he did pull out that knife against Ford that one time, remember?
True. True.
And Teddy grabbed the knife.
That's true.
Gets him, so but he wasn't really gonna hurt him, I don't think.
I don't think our story's done with the Man in Black. They could have ended the story right there, but he's coming back. That wasn't his last episode last week, and even though he wasn't in the episode this week, I expect a big role for his character, mainly because Ed Harris is awesome in this role. And if they can kind of bring him back as more sympathetic or bad, but she's worse. And if they kind of
she is proving to be worse in a lot. Like she's doing hers more in like the pursuit of what we think is a righteous cause, but I don't know. Until I have more of a sense of what her end game is, what her ultimate goal is, what she's trying to achieve, I have to consider her hostile. I have to consider her sort of not somebody I necessarily want to align with in terms of as a fan of the show.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, I can never get behind the Men in Black ever again," and I can understand. I can understand those things, but at the same time, there have been worse characters, even like on Game of Thrones, that, like for instance, that you have done worse things maybe than the Men in Black that you get behind, or you start to cheer for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think it's possible to do it like literally even in one episode. They could make you on if because that's how I find humans watch TV shows a lot of the times is if there's a big bad, we will cheer a lot of the times for the even even though he's the lesser bad, to take down that big bad. You know,
Right. And if ultimately like if the end game of the show is that Dolores is the big bad of the show, which seems more and more like that's where we're headed. I think the great way to do that is to set up this Caleb character, get us to like him or sympathize with him, and kind of like, okay, yeah, you're helping Dolores, and then have her turn on Caleb in some way, or betray him in some way,
right?
and that will cement her as the villain.
I agree. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're definitely going to cement her as the villain. It's just who are they going to cement as the protagonist? And maybe the case is we haven't met the protagonist yet. Maybe that person's coming next season.
It's Maeve.
You just think it's Maeve.
To me, it's Maeve.
I agree, but don't you find Maeve not like she's underwhelming?
No. Every episode she's not in, I don't like as much. She's not in this episode. I don't like it as much. I'd say that the ones she's in, I've enjoyed more, just because I think I enjoy her performance. I like her sort of wit. I enjoy her energy.
I enjoy her too. I find her like I find like the whole story's going on over here, and her story's like over here. I don't find they've melded the characters well enough. Where they kind of started last episode, where Dolores kills Maeve, but that's really it. Like we don't really have enough contact between Dolores and Maeve where we get this. We don't. I don't feel like Maeve really cares if what Dolores is doing. And so if she did, I would agree with you. She would be the protagonist, the person we're rooting for. But she's kind of aligned with Dolores in a weird way, like just because of who she is. She's one of the smartest hosts. She's been omniscient like for a long time. She's kind of knows what's going on. She had her chance to leave. Now, maybe that's why she did not leave. Remember that scene? I think it's in season 1 or 2, where she's about to get on the train to leave Westworld, right? And she decides not to. My theory is she decided not to because I think she knew that she would become like Dolores is now if she got on that train. She would become vengeful, evil, and out for blood, and just would do anything necessary to accomplish whatever her goal, whatever Dolores' goal seems to be. Maybe that's why Maeve is the one character to take her down, because she will understand what Dolores is up to.
Well, ultimately, like, what's the biggest difference between Dolores and Maeve is that Maeve has connection to other people. Maeve cares about whether they be host or human. Like, she has real connections with other people. Whereas Dolores doesn't. Dolores uses people.
Yes.
And doesn't trust anybody, and doesn't really have, and it has no ability really to get people on her side, or at least not for very long, right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that with Caleb, but in Maeve's case, like Maeve had Sizemore kind of believing in her. Those two tech guys, like there was the one that believed in her from the beginning, and then there was the one that was always the jerk with the red beard.
Yep.
But both of those guys like were very loyal to Maeve as they saw her do what she did, and so she kind of inspired leadership through example, whereas Dolores tries to do it all through sort of violence and through intimidation and manipulation. And I think that's ultimately what I think that they are the two sides of the show. I think that Dolores is the villain and Maeve is the protagonist ultimately.
Okay.
And Bernard, I don't know, whatever, neutral.
And
neutral good.
Same thing with Man in Black. He's just one of the bad guys, and that was it.
Man in Black, I think he's I don't know if he's as important sort of to the long term of the show, the end game of the show, as we want him to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he's sort of, I don't think he can be redeemed. And if he can be, it's going to be very hard. And I'd be interested to see them try it. I think if anyone can pull it off, I think Ed Harris is likable and compelling enough to do it. But I don't see them trying to. Then they have to kind of justify everything the Man in Black has done, right?
Well, my question is, what if they were able to show us that he didn't actually kill his daughter? That was all a setup. that was all in his head. That was all like Dolores says to him something like before she puts him in the mental hospital. You don't even know why she died, or she says something like you don't even question. You think your guilt is even a choice. It's not. None of this was a choice. She says to him something like that. And I just wonder how, like, what if him killing his daughter was all like a game or was all set up, maybe even by Ford or something like maybe Man in Black was right. Like Ford was screwing with his head for so long. And then, but when when that happened, like, how can he just questioned his reality? It broke him. And so I don't know. Like, I just think there's a way to, I just don't think his story is done, and I think there's a way to kind of bring his character back, not necessarily on the good side. He's not going to be. He's never. He doesn't seem to be like a good guy, but I think he could be like a vigilante for hire for the good guys for Maeve.
Yeah, maybe. Like, okay, ultimately, what is the Man in Black guilty of? What are his crimes, and what would he sort of need to atone for? Like, obviously, the death of his daughter is accidental and tragic. Okay, so maybe that aside, he was. What's he really guilty of? He was guilty of extreme cruelty towards the hosts.
Right.
He went way beyond what most of the other human guests did, and had showed no compassion or sort of empathy towards them at all. But that was also because he was kind of messed up from everything with Dolores. So I think that maybe you can kind of go, okay, like, we thought maybe he was a rapist, but I don't think that's true. I don't think that we ever saw William the Men in Black do anything like that. And what's his other great crime? I guess ultimately it is identity fraud and information mining, data mining, because he was using Westworld as a means to get information on some of the richest, most wealthiest people in the world, and using that to exploiting that data to make money. So that's wrong on a whole bunch of levels. But most of that, that's white collar crime. That's whatever you want to maybe frame it. What he did to the hosts, well, you can he wasn't thinking of the hosts as human. They were just
yeah, you could justify
avatars.
anything. Yeah, for sure. Whether or not the Man in Black is I just wonder if we're ever going to root for this character, because the reason why I'm pulling at him is because there are so few characters that we want to root for, and it's really just Maeve, Bernard, and that's about it. Stubbs, sort of. Those are the only characters right now. And even Caleb, we're not supposed to root for him right now because he's on Dolores's team, and he's like not even really questioning it, other than he's wondering who he is.
Yeah, and not even only now.
Only now. Yeah.
Liam said these things.
Yeah. So, and like he still kind of trusts Dolores, even though at the end of this episode, I think he's starting to catch on and starting to understand, like, what am I doing?
Maybe.
Well, do you watch Westworld, Jody? I mean, you're welcome to come on as a guest host whenever you feel it. We're going to be recapping the rest of season 3. If you want to catch up on the show, episode 6 will drop next Sunday, so we'll be right here. Here on Super Mater Bros Podcasting.
Yeah, go home.
Well, that's evident. He already is home.
Oh, maybe this is the saltiest comment of them all. Super Monotone Brothers.
Oh,
shade. You got me right. You got me salty.
Okay.
All right.
Come on.
Okay. All right. Have we said? I think we've said about all we can about this episode.
Yeah.
So, I would like to invoke the great Ted Mayer and say, why don't we just all order some pizzas?
Yeah, so cheese with some pepperoni. Do we want some veggies on there? What are we feeling here?
Oh no, Jody says, he's giving us just a hard time, he says.
We have a fan too. Frank Houlihan said we're doing a great job over here on Super Mater Bros podcast. He says, this isn't easy. This doesn't just happen.
No, it doesn't just happen. It does now. I just press a button now.
Yeah,
But
now
it took a while to get things going.
there was
So
some prep.
thank you, Jody. Okay, so hey, that's been Westworld season 3, episode 5, genre, which was the weird drug. Next episode. What is the episode called? It is
Decoherent?
Decoherence.
I don't know. Why are these titles so weird?
And the one after that's called Past Pawn. Then Christ, I don't know. Oh,
Crisis Theory.
yeah. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. We had no idea what genre meant last week either.
No.
And
Now it
so,
makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of that kind of show, isn't it? Anyway, so yeah, that's been Westworld season 3, episode 5. We'll be back here on Monday night and next week to talk about episode 6, and we'll see you guys all there. Bye.
Okay, and then let's just end with that.